Hello, everyone, and welcome to the sixth episode of Baseball FM. As always, I am Frank here with Max, and I am ready to talk some ball. The Red Sox are up 8-2 after 3 innings, and the Phillies, I gather, are doing okay at the moment.
I mean, hey, we're up 1-0. That's what won us against
Yeah,
the
they're up 1
Marlins
nothing.
last
There you
night.
go. So,
Aaron Nola seems to be back.
yeah, Aaron Nola seems to be back. Well, now that we're on the topic of the Phillies, smooth intro. Um, the first topic that we're going to talk about is the firing of Rob Thompson. Now, this is a little bit older news given the timeline of how fast things go in the MLB, but this is something that happened since the last time we recorded. Max, you being the avid Philadelphia Phillies fan, some would say maybe even rabid. Um, I will let
I'm
you
very
take the
rabid.
floor on this and weigh in with your opinions and thoughts. I know we've sort of talked in person about this, but I'm interested to
Uh-huh.
see if you have any more points than you mentioned to me the other day.
It's bittersweet. I mean, yeah, when I think it was like 24 or 48 hours after the whole Cora thing happened. And we did that podcast last week. We talked about the whole Cora. I did say on that podcast, and I think you remember that Thompson's on the hot seat. Well, his seat is burning hot because man, it's gone. He's gone. Um, yeah, no, it's unfortunate. I mean, he is the most winning in terms of winning percentage for managers in Philadelphia Phillies history. He's number one ever since he took over from Joe Girardi, who's managing Still Haunts My Dreams from 2022. Um, he has been on a heater until just last week. For example, the Phillies made the wild card in 22. We won the wild card in 23 with 91, 92 win games. We won the NL East in back to back years in 24 and 25. And now there's this because we got off to a really bad start with Rob Thompson. I think it was a good change of pace. It kind of could be like what the Cora thing is. Um, though Chad Tracy's a different beast, but
We also haven't
no, I
been
think it's
playing
it's
very
very
well since he got fired, but
what's that?
so we haven't been playing particularly well since he was fired anyway. But
Well, we'll get to that. Don't worry, we will get to that.
yeah,
But no, I think it's unfortunate because he was such a great manager. Everyone in the clubhouse, with the exception of a man who's in San Diego right now, liked him uh, and thought he was a great manager. I think every team he's been on liked him. He's been in the Yankee system for a very long time, and a lot of the Yankees players liked him too. So he's very good at building a team together and I think making a team win, except at this moment. I don't think necessarily Rob Thompson got himself fired. I think it was the Phillies playing that got Rob Thompson fired. He kind of got the Joe Girardi treatment in the sense because Dave Dombrowski last year or a couple years ago signed Rob Thompson, a similar deal to Cora, that 3 year extension to have him stay on the team and that guaranteed money. But now Rob Thompson is probably, unfortunately, done with baseball. He's had a remarkable baseball career. But at the end of the day, this is a team before Rob Thompson was fired, who was, I think, 9-19 or 13-19. This is a team that, quite frankly, did not look good at all. This is a team that was struggling. Christopher Sanchez didn't look himself. Aaron Nola has not been looking himself up until last night. The bullpen didn't look good, and the offense has been pretty bad this entire month. So it's unfortunate, but I think it really was the kick in the butt because ever since that 10-game losing streak that the Phillies were on with Rob Thompson, as soon as Don Mattingly became the interim manager, the Phillies have been 7-3, and they haven't been looking back since. They've been playing great. Bryce Harper, who started off the year pretty cold, just hit a solo home run. So I think this could be the proverbial boot in the ass that the Phillies needed. But we'll see how it plays out. I don't think he's going to be the long term manager. I think we're looking at you know who next
yeah,
year
yeah.
in our manager spot. But no, it's unfortunate. But I trust Don Mattingly, Donnie Baseball, a great baseball guy. Obviously, not because he's been a good manager for the Dodgers and a good bench coach and a manager for the Marlins and a bench coach for the Blue Jays. And then at the start of the year for the Phillies. But obviously, the man knows baseball inside out. This is Donnie Baseball. This is the same guy who was one of the best first basemen of all time for the New York Yankees. So I have complete faith in him, but I'm not sure he's going to be the long term solution. I think this is Dave finally realizing this is a team that's underperforming. This team on paper is a World Series winning team. It's about time we acted like it.
Yeah. Just my 2 cents in the matter. I'm not an expert by any means in Philadelphia Phillies baseball like you are, Max. But if I was just going to put some outside eyeballs on the situation, it really does seem like this is a victim of Dave Dombrowski and the Phillies ownership group and the players maybe even a little bit feeling the pressure of the last dance, so to speak. I mean, you got a lineup and a rotation that's getting older and older. I think the injuries to Wheeler and to guys like Duran and Nola's sort of seeming drop off in quality. I think sort of drives home the fragility of this team overall in terms of like they're not getting any younger, and with age comes usually a drop off in performance. Now, don't get me wrong, I think this team was hugely underachieving um, in the month of April, and I would say for the most part the only thing that really needed to happen was for them to play more games. Um,
Well, we're
you know,
undefeated in May.
yeah, well, that's just it, right? Is like I think this team is talented enough to if they kept playing, they were eventually going to find some wins, and lo and behold, here we are. Now, there could be deeper rooted problems that we're not necessarily aware of between Dombrowski and Thompson here, but I think maybe this is a group of older players finally taking some ownership for their actions and starting to play like they usually play. And
Yeah.
with a rotation like you have, getting Wheeler back, lineup like you have, I think just playing how they should be playing. There's really nothing but up arrows for the Phillies at this point. So
Well, yeah. I mean, the fact that he was just winning so much. I mean, and ever since he's been a manager for the Phillies, for those 4 years, they've always made the playoffs, and they've always performed really well. And they had some of the best players, and I think still do in some sense in the league. It's just the fact that he had this horrible stretch, and that didn't save his job. It proves that baseball can be quite a heartbreaking game at times, and you can't. And while it's a game for kids,
yeah,
really at the end of the day, which we all love with baseball. But unfortunately, there's the business aspect to it, and this is unfortunate, like you saw with Cora last week or a couple weeks ago. Just one of the many business aspects that you have to consider with baseball. It's unfortunate, but I think the Phillies can succeed after that.
yeah, and I just think that it seems like Dombrowski had his finger on the button from day one, honestly, and I think he was just waiting for the first prolonged stretch of struggles to maybe move in a different direction. And I'll be honest, I've mentioned this before, and obviously nothing's official yet, but Alex Cora I think is like the perfect manager for this group of players. Like I can't think of a better manager for a group that is already solidified in terms of having multiple all stars, having a fairly easy to manage rotation and a bullpen that I think strings together pretty nicely when everything is clicking. I mean, you just got
Yeah, it's going to win us two rings, except that one you got lucky in 2018.
yeah. Well, maybe he'll win you a couple. I don't know. Red Sox aren't winning anything anytime soon, so I'll just enjoy for your sake. Um, I mean, Yohan Duran just got off the injured list today, so maybe things are working out for the Phillies after
Yep,
all.
the tarantula. I can't wait to see that animatronic tarantula that I'm totally not afraid of on my TV.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to let's move on to a team that I think we've discussed a little bit here, but we haven't necessarily talked about and in any sort of in-depth way. We've talked about the Red Sox, talked about the Phillies, talked a little bit about the Mets in terms of their early season struggles. We have not really talked about the San Francisco Giants yet. This is one of the teams in the as Wilson Contreras hits an absolute nuke here. I gotta marinate in that for a second.
Yeah, Schwarber's
Um,
up with one with if apologize if I keep looking, but Schwarber's up right now. We got
yeah,
runners at first and second with two outs against
but
Luis Severino up here.
I digress. This San Francisco Giants team currently sits at 14 and 21 at the time of recording, which
Yep.
is May 5th. A team that I wouldn't necessarily say had postseason aspirations, but they definitely were hoping for a better start than this. Um, as of right now, Casey Schmidt is the only hitter in their lineup that has an OPS plus that is higher than 212. Um, or higher than 112, I should say. Their rotation has been getting a little bit better. Logan Webb's looking a little bit more like, and Abreu just goes back to back with Contreras. There we go, 10-2.
Are you back?
No, we're not back. I'm not getting fooled.
Yeah, you were petrified of what happened
We
last
won.
Saturday.
We
We'll get to
won.
that, but
We
let's
won
talk about
seven.
the Giantes.
We put up 17 runs on the Orioles, and Cora got fired right after the game. So I'm not. I'm not getting tricked into anything here.
Yeah,
Um. Yeah, this is a Giants team that seems to be kind of fighting for an identity. They just called up Bryce Eldridge, so that could be maybe signs of things to come. But the hot seat, even though this is his first year, Buster Posey took a really big swing hiring Tony Vitiello from the University of Tennessee, and it really and the benches are clearing. Oh my god. I'm trying to talk, but this is like the most interesting thing that's happened to the Red Sox all year. Hit back-to-back
yeah.
home runs off of Framber, and then Framber hits Trevor Story, and now the benches are clearing.
Oh, is there gonna be a fight?
The fuck is going on? Doesn't look like it, but
They should
um,
fight. Look, okay, I'm gonna have to interrupt this and owe it in disrespect to you. Um, there needs to be more fights in baseball. All right,
I agree.
I know they go out there and they shove each other. They're like, oh, be cool, be cool. No, I want to see some hockey level fights for
Yeah.
5 seconds. Just have the batter and the pitcher, swing it, go out there, beat them up, do some MMA moves. I don't care. That's entertaining. And then the bullpens can come in. Anyways, I digress. That's my little old
No,
man
I
rant.
I, I agree. John Boyce, however you want to say it, is
What are you,
on
French?
yeah on SB
No
Nation
disrespect.
slash Secret Base. He is doing a really good series on mound charging in the MLB, and he's 2 episodes in. Been very compelling so far, so I would recommend
Yeah,
anybody who's listening to check that out. Anyway, as we were saying about the Giants before the Red Sox
yeah.
decided to be interesting for the first time all year.
Here's a segue. Here's a good segue for you. Yeah, speaking of benches clearing brawl, remember when Bryce Harper charged him out against Hunter Strickland? Hunter Strickland plays for the Giants. Let's talk about how the Giants are doing this year. How's that?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Sorry.
Um, yeah, offense doing absolutely horrendously. Tony Vitiello, uh, real big swing by Buster Posey, the president of baseball operations in San Francisco, hiring him out of the University of Tennessee. As I was saying, at what point does a seat get hot? Really, I mean, I know this is sort of an experiment. I know this is not unprecedented, but a very rare occurrence. A coach getting hired straight out of college without any sort of professional experience. Not to mention that he's
Hmm.
a very young coach. He's in his 30s still, I believe.
Yeah,
And, you know, there are some veteran leaders in that clubhouse. You have Logan Webb, you have Matt Chapman, you have Willie Adames, whatever you think of him, he's there. Um, Maybe Luis Ariz and Rafael Devers have some sort of link up with the Spanish players. I'm not really sure. They never really struck me as
yeah.
leadership guys, but they're veterans at the very least.
Yeah.
And it just seems like this team is still devoid of a true star player. Despite the acquisition of Rafael Devers, I'm sure they hoped that he would fill that void, but he's just been absolutely abysmal to start the year, and even worse than the typical sort of Rafael Devers, it takes a little bit for me to get started kind of slump.
Yeah.
Um, we won't talk about that too much because our next segment, I think, delves in deeper with that. But Max, do you have any sort of thoughts, maybe sort of an explanation as to why the Giants are playing as poorly as they've been playing thus far, sitting statistically in last place in the NL West? I know the Rockies technically are, but it's half a game, and it's only a factor of the Rockies having played one more game. So functionally, they're in last place of the NL West. But Max, do you have the floor on this?
I do. Yeah, I think it's unfortunate because I think the Giants had these high hopes, especially in the offseason. I think the Giants are doing too much of a LA Dodgers strategy. And I think really only the LA Dodgers can do it really well right now. I mean, when we think of the a crazy run that they had when they had almost like that pretty much that three-peat from 10 and 12 and 14. Um, Posey, I think, is trying to get a lot of guys in this lineup who only hit for power. But those teams, those World Series championship teams, they weren't really known for their power. They're just known for getting the ball in play, getting on base, and winning baseball games. Um, I think this strategy was tried in like the 80s and 90s, specifically Barry Bonds and Jeff Kemp. Those were some of the greatest power hitting duo of all time, and they only got a pennant. They didn't even win the World Series against the Anaheim Angels. So I think there's just I think too much emphasis on getting power bats with the expense of people who purely hit and get on base and score runs. There's not much consistency there. I will say this about the Giants: their offense just stinks. They're ranked dead last in MLB in home runs and runs scored. They score 3.1 runs per game, and they're last in walks. They have the second worst OPS in Major League Baseball. So while the bullpen is good on paper, like as of these are statistics that I got from April 28th, for example. Their bullpen ERA by that date was 2.93. So they had the third best overall ERA in baseball. But as we see, sometimes having a great bullpen, they can sometimes maintain the lead. A great example is when they faced the Phillies and they lost in the doubleheader. Each of those games were blown by Giants relievers. That first game, they gave up that walk-off infield single to Justin Crawford. The second game was a sac fly that Alec Boehm hit. So this is a team that can't really hold a lead very much, despite their ERA being good. The starting pitcher's ERA is, as of that date, is 3.81. That's the ninth best in baseball. So they do have a not a horrible rotation. Like Robbie Ray's not looking horrible at all. He's looking all right. But Logan Webb is looking like he's back on track, which is fantastic to see. But I think really the the thing about the Giants is they don't have much of an offense. Devers is in a dump. He has been since opening day. He really can't get it together right now. There's two bright spots like Bryce Eldridge just being called up, along with Jesus Rodriguez. Eldridge, for example, had a 335 average with 5 home runs in AAA. So he's looking quite good. Um, now, in regards to this, though, this is an interesting stat that they got from the San Francisco Chronicle, their beat writer that writes for the team. Among the 155 active MLB players that are involved in this, who have more than 130 plate appearances, Devers, Rafael Devers, Leo Damas, Matt Chapman all have an OPS in the bottom 25th percentile. Devers has the sixth worst OPS in baseball right now at 562. Adames is the eighth worst at 582. Chapman is the 24th worst at 655. Patrick Bailey is a really incredible defensive catcher. He's one of the best defensive catchers in the game, but he can't hit. In 86 plate appearances, he has a 411 OPS. So there's still, I think, some parts of it that, this Giants team, I still think their overall pitching is not looking bad at all. In fact, it's looking quite good. But their offense needs to step up. There's some players who've been doing all right, but they can't, bring the whole team around. And I think a part of that could be Tony Vitello. He's pretty green, I think, right now. Yes, he's had success in college, but we haven't seen that success straight from college to baseball. Now I see that in NFL all the time, obviously, but sometimes great college coaches don't necessarily mean great professional coaches. A prime example. I don't know if this is the best example in the world. There's two examples that come to mind. This is from football. Nick Saban is the one of the greatest, if not the greatest, college football manager coach of all time. But in the NFL, he wasn't that great. We also saw that with Urban Meyer when he was with the Jaguars. He was great for the Florida Gators when he had Team Tebow and a man we don't talk about because of what happened. But he had some great players on that team. He was a great coach. And it didn't work out well at all with the Jacksonville Jaguars, who I think had like a 2-14 or start or a 2-12 start before they axed him in week 13 or week 14 in Trevor Lawrence's rookie year. So I think we've seen that a lot. The Giants are a team that should not be this bad, but their offense is really killing them, and that's got to change.
Yeah. To your point, I think it's one of those things where with college managers, coaches, whichever sport it is, there's a difference in ego, I think, and there's a difference in management style that really takes time for college coaches to wrap their head around once they become professional in that sense. The best way I can describe it is looking at the relationship between Alex Cora and Rafael Devers during his time here. It seemed that Cora was really would always give him sort of not special treatment per se, but keep an eye on him more than other players, right? Rafael Devers is a very mercurial kind of player, right? He's someone that is he's going to give you better or worse outcomes largely depending on how he's feeling on any given day.
Yeah.
And the the thing that I worried about with him in San Francisco the most is a lot of his production came from just peppering the Green Monster to the opposite field with that tremendous power that he has. And he can't really do the same in San Francisco. The outfields are cavernous. The the ability for him to use that power to the opposite field is really difficult to measure. I think the only way that this comes around for him is if he just figures out how to adapt his approach to San Francisco. And I think that's probably true of a lot of free agent hitters that come to San Francisco or get traded there or what have you. Even players are getting called up from the minors. There is a an approach for that field. And I think when you talk about Jung Hoo Lee, the Giants maybe thought about, and also Luis Arias as well, they sort of thought about a contact hitter approach, trying to hit the gaps, because the gaps are deep in San Francisco, as you know, and
Hmm.
not necessarily someone that is going to hit for a lot of power, which again is like something you pointed out they're trying to do before. But I just don't think there's a consistent approach that works in terms of like dampening the batting average and balls in play luck that San Francisco sort of dampens a little bit. But at the same time, all you can really do if you're the Giants is put together a good lineup, and you can't really get bogged down by that too much. I mean, look at what the Rockies are doing with their pitching staff this year. I think everybody knows that Coors is like the death of the pitcher, right? It, if you go there, no matter how much you're worth before or after, it's going to be a black mark on your record. And this year they went out and got Sagano and Lorenzen and Quintana, and they just said we're going to get some solid established pitchers who have a lot of pitches and just see how it works. So far, I
Yeah.
mean, so far it's been a lot better, right? So far, I mean, the Rockies aren't particularly good, but they haven't been for a long time, right? So
Yeah.
it's one of those things where the Giants, I think they need to really look at their approach and how they're recruiting. And I understand that if Devers is available, you go out and get a Devers, but I can't imagine anybody who looked at his approach and compared it to San Francisco and said, this is an approach that's going to play similarly to how it plays in Fenway. Because that that's a man that really tailored his swing to having the Green Monster present, and
Yeah.
it's hard to come back from that. But like you mentioned, Logan Webb looking back to normal. Landon Roop has looked really good as a sort of breakout candidate this year, and bullpen has been sort of up and down, but overall has been pretty solid. And what I would say is this isn't a bad team, but it certainly has a lot of guys that are prone to having really bad stretches of seasons. Adamas, Devers, Chapman, the like, right? We've seen this before and probably going to happen again. Maybe injecting some youth with Bryce Eldridge and Jesus Rodriguez can sort of uplift them a little bit, but we shall see.
Yeah.
Anyway,
They
let's
had
move.
James Tibbs, and look what happened.
Yeah, well, the curse of James Tibbs. Many people are saying this. Um, let's talk about. Speaking of a struggling team, let's talk about some struggling players here, Max.
Yeah.
And we're actually going to start off with Rafael Devers. We talked a little bit about him, of course, and I think you know how I stand on this. Basically, how I was talking about his approach, and
Yeah.
this is a guy who's very fine tuned to his environment in Fenway. I'll throw some
Yeah,
stats.
man. Who's your ex?
I'll throw some stats at you here, Max. Let's just compare 2025 to 2026 thus far, right? I'm not going to go too in depth into the weeds on the metrics just to keep this a little bit user friendly here. So,
Hmm.
hard hit percentage. He was in the 97th percentile last year, 56.1. This year,
Yeah.
he is at the 55th percentile, 42.14. Last year, his walk percentage was 98th percentile, 15.4. This year, all the gains that we saw seem to have disappeared. 20th percentile, 6.3. This sort of speaks to the mercurial nature of Rafael Devers, right? I said this is a guy
Yeah.
that needs to be feeling good to play good. I could point out the barrel percentage. Last year, 94th percentile at 16%. 2026, 43rd percentile, 7.7. Something that I want to point out a little bit here when it comes to his batted ball profile. This is for this year, right? We're going to talk
Yep.
about 2026. His fly ball percentage is down, his line drive percentage is down, and his ground ball percentage is up. His pull percentage way down from 35 to 29, and his opposite field percentage is actually down as well, which I think is a large part of his game that a lot of people aren't necessarily considering. But
Hmm.
some of these things look like they're in line. I will say this. I would say that his launch angle is how it's been, right? His hard hit percentage is down, but it's sort of in line with his early career, which were productive years. His K percentage is up 29.9, but it's not horribly above where he's been in the past. So, Max, I read all these
Yeah.
things to you to say, do you think that there's hope for a bounce back for Rafael Devers?
Well, I looked at his. I didn't bother to write down or to memorize some of those things because I just saw it, and I just three words in mind. He's fucking ass. He sucks right now. He's not looking great at all. Um, Batting wise, not looking great. Defensive wise, last when he was on the Red Sox, he was statistically the worst fielding third baseman. And right now, he is not a good fielding first baseman. We all know he can't run the bases. This is a guy who's not looking so great. I think as soon as the months progress, maybe he might be one of those. I don't think I coined the phrase, but he might be one of those like sort of seasonal hitters where he plays a lot better when it's around this time, especially in June and when we get to the dog days of summer and by September when it's still hot outside. He doesn't particularly play too well when it's like colder out or windy or anything like that. So I could see that. And we see that with a lot of players too. A lot of players are off to some really bad starts and then they get hot. Aaron Judge is a prime example. There's times where he gets, starts out cold, he's looking decent. Kyle Riley is someone who started out very cold, but now he's getting better. So this is what we see in baseball all the time and it happens. But I think in his case, because there was so much drama that happened with him last year. Some of it, I think, to his own accord, but and to his former team's accord, but also because of other factors. But I think there's such a heightened spotlight because this was a big move that Buster Posey's Giants made. It's high risk, high reward, but it's also high risk and it could be a low reward at times because you have situations like this. And it happens all the time. But I think from what we've seen in the past year now, it's going to be heightened
Mhm.
up to a fervor. So I think there's definitely room for improvement, but we're going to have to wait and see. I'm not going to hold my breath.
Yeah, I think if as big as the Devers fan as I am, as you know,
Yeah,
I've loved him ever since he debuted with the Red Sox. I've always loved his approach. I love that he's sort
yeah,
of unique in how he gets to his power and how he hits. And when he's on fire, I dare you to find a better hitter in the world than him. But
yeah,
if you had asked me as a neutral fan, and you give me a list of like 10 of the best hitters of the last 5 years, and he was on that list, right? Even give me the 20 best hitters in the last decade or so. He's probably lower on the list of the ones I'd want to acquire, if I'm honest.
yeah.
He's prone to these prolonged stretches of, you know,
Being ass.
really brutal stretches. And I'm not talking about like just bad luck or anything like that, but like truly looking like he's never played the game of baseball before.
Yeah,
I for one remember, and you probably do too, last year where he broke records for the amount of strikeouts he was recording in the first week, 2 weeks, first month of baseball, right? And everybody was saying, "Are his shoulders cooked? Is this a guy that we could even use?" And then he just went back to being Rafael Devers, and everybody forgot about it, right?
yeah,
So I think there is, like I said, there's some mercurial aspects to his production that could lend to him bouncing back. I would say this is probably going to be statistically the worst year of his career, though, even if it is
by
somewhat
far.
palatable in the end, just because of the new environment, just because of who he is as a player, and just because of like his overall approach and how tailored it is to Fenway Park. So that's sort of my verdict on Rafael Devers overall. Let's move on to another NL West slugger, or should I say, not so much slugger this year, because he's yet to hit a homer this year, and he's currently in the midst of his longest streak without a home run. I'm talking, of course, about Fernando Tatis Jr., the apparent superstar of the San Diego Padres. Now, let me read you some stats here, some conflicting stats. Let's put it that way,
Mhm.
right? Let's compare his season last year to this year. Now, last year Last year, he had an 814 OPS, 25 home runs, 32 steals. Very good year. Some of the things to point out: walk percentage, 90th percentile; hard hit percentage, 93rd percentile; average exit velo, 95th; expected batting average, 85th percentile; and K percentage, 66th percentile. Compare that to this year. Hard hit percentage, 99th percentile, still doing very well. Average exit velocity, 92nd percentile, still doing very well. Expected batting average, 79th percentile, still doing very well. K percentage, 30th percentile. He's up to 25% strikeouts. His whiff rate is 17%. Now, let's point out a couple other things here. His max exit velocity is in line with where it was last year. So is his exit velocity. His batting average on contact is higher than it was last year, actually. But and this is the thing that I think a lot of people are pointing to right now. His ground ball percentage is at 51.1. Now, that's incredibly high. It's gone up each of the last 3 years from 46 to 49 to 51.
Mhm.
His fly ball percentage has gone down from
25.
25% to 17% this year. And the most striking thing of all is his pull percentage has drastically gone down from 36% to 20%. That's a
Yeah.
16% drop. And in turn, his opposite field percentage has gone up from 23 to 32. All of that is to say, Max, in some ways, he's producing how he's always been producing, but in other ways, he is, whether it's intentional or not, he is changing his approach quite significantly.
Oh yeah.
Now, however hard you hit the ball, if you're constantly hitting it into the ground, there's not a whole lot of room to do damage there. You're going to get poor batting average on ball and play luck. You're going to get a lack of power. We've seen this with guys like Jordan Walker in the past, right? Like, it doesn't matter how hard you hit the ball. If you keep hitting it into the ground, none of it's going to matter.
Yeah, of course it's gonna be an out.
He certainly has enough power to make it work to the opposite field, but to nowhere near the degree that it has been for him in the past. So, Max, overall, what would you diagnose the problems with Tatis, and how would those relate to a long term future for him?
Yeah, I mean he's not hitting horribly. I mean, if I take a look at his stats for the year, right now he's hitting 252. That's not a batting average at all. He's has a slugging of he has, excuse me, an on base of 324 and a slugging of 301. His OPS is 625. He's got an OPS plus of 76. Nothing to write home about, but also nothing to it's not like a huge sign of concern. He's still a consistent player. I think he's changing positions now. He was a second baseman and now he's an outfield. Now he's going back and forth between that. That could play a factor into it, but I think as we talked about a little bit off, just in person, um, it seems like he's kind of not launching the ball like he used to. This is not like a 2021 version of Tatis. Maybe the thing he used, which got him in trouble, is probably biting him back. But I think I mean it's tough to explain. I mean he's not a horrible player at all. He's still a consistently good player. But I think his approach at the plate is not looking like what Tatis's approach at the plate was in the past few years. So I think there's that to consider. Maybe the hitting coach is like, hey, let's try a new approach. Let's see if we can get you on base more consistently. Perhaps I'm not sure, but I think the big factor would be, his change at the plate. Um, yes, he's hitting, balls consistently. It could be his launch angle. It may be because he's not swinging up so much. Maybe he's trying to lower the K rate that he has. Um, that's the only logical explanation that I can think of. But I think a lot of it is just consistently changing. Maybe his mechanics have changed a little bit. Maybe he's looking at newer pitches to hit that he can hit for hard contact that he couldn't before. So I think there's those aspects that we should keep in mind.
Yeah, I do remember. Excuse me. I do remember this being a storyline for the Padres late last year, where they were making a lot of contact, but they weren't scoring a lot of runs. And I think a large part of that comes down to probably what we're seeing now: a lot of ground balls and a lot of hits to the opposite field. So maybe this is an intentional sort of Maybe this is an intentional aspect of his game now, and he's just taking some time to adjust. And maybe this is just signal that doesn't really mean anything. This is just nothing but like a slow start, and he's not quite getting his hands through like he typically does. He just needs a little bit of time to warm up. And I think what an aspect of this that I think not a lot of people are talking about is the World Baseball Classic. And did this sort of mess with hitters' preparation a little bit? Maybe this is sort of speaking to some of the early sluggish starts from some of these guys. So
Yeah, and I think that too explains some of the pitchers too. I think not to talk about him too much, but I think Ranger Suarez, for example, he didn't start off the year too great. I think a part of it is because of the World Baseball Classic. I think the same case can be made. I think a little bit to Bryce Harper and Kyle Riley for some aspects because you're essentially playing October baseball in March. Not a lot of guys are going to be ready for that. A lot of guys are, fine tuning it, seeing what works and what doesn't work in the spring, just to get themselves warm and prepared for a grinding haul that is a 162 game season. So I think, yeah, no, that's a great point. I think there could be some aspects to that.
yeah. Um, let's talk about a guy that I don't believe went to the World Baseball Classic, but it's an interesting case nonetheless. Talk about Brent Rooker. Now, this is slightly different for the first two that we've seen, who's he's missed a significant part of the year to start with injuries. So he gets a little bit of a caveat here, but even with that being said, we're talking about an expected batting average of 205, a current OPS of 528, and he's batting 162 thus far. Average exit velocity is 30th percentile. His whiff percentage is first percentile. His K percentile is sixth percentile. He is inarguably the best spot to hit in the entire league, and he just doesn't seem to be making the most of it. Um, his line drive percentage is down by 8 percentage points. He's pulling the ball more than ever, but his ground ball percentage has spiked. He just seems like a guy who's sort of out of sorts right now. And I just don't know where the regression for some of these things is. He's a 46th percentile in K percentage, and his batting average last year was 262, more or less in line with his expected numbers. So what I would say about Brent Rooker so far is maybe you can excuse some of these things and chalk it up to injury, but at the same time, this does seem like a guy that is kind of lost a step, and
Yeah.
he's flailing a little bit, maybe pressing a little bit. But Max, what are your early impressions on Brent Rooker so far?
Well, so far it has not been bombs away for Brent Rooker. It's really been um, measly a little bit to some extent. I think, yeah, you talked about it. An interesting stat to bring up is, especially with his part of the lineup, he has 3 home runs. He only has 2 RBIs to start off the year. So even in bases loaded, or hey, you can advance the runner from second to get home with a simple base hit, or even by simply hitting a sac fly if it's like one or zero or one outs in the outfield, just to get a fly ball and just to get the guy in. He's not producing in that spots really well. I think there is some. I guess the sense is a little grandfathered in. I mean, obviously, when guys are off the IL for some time, especially if he was off the team a bit to nurse those injuries, I think at times, you're not going to be 100% ready right away. So I think we're seeing that right now, and I think this is kind of some of the rude awakening that you get. Like, hey, welcome back to the IL. We're having you hit third or fourth in the lineup. Best of luck to you. And here he goes. So I think it is a cause for concern. I still think he's going to, be within his metrics. I still think this is a guy who's going to get 20 RBIs. He's still going to hit, 250, 260. He's going to be in line with the reasons why the A's extended him a couple years ago. I think he's still going to be that player, but I think right now he's just off to a slow start, mostly because of the injuries. And we'll see what happens. I mean, I'm a Brent Rooker fan myself, so I think he'll do all right.
Yeah, and I think another thing that I've heard from some people is that the environment in Sacramento during the months of April and early May is not as conducive to hitting as you might think, considering how it plays during the summer months. So that
Yeah.
could be a factor as well, but that might be more excuse. But for the sake of time, we'll speed up a little bit. We'll talk about some teams outside of the playoffs as things stand right now. And which one of these teams do we think can actually stand a chance of qualifying for the playoffs when everything is said and done? So, Max, I'm going to give you a quick run through here of the overall playoff picture as things stand. The teams, if the season ended today, that would be in the playoffs, are the Yankees, Athletics, and Guardians would all be division winners in the American League. The wild cards would be the Rays, Tigers, and White Sox. All right. So we'll start with the American League in this discussion. The four teams, sorry, that are within one game of a playoff spot at the moment: Seattle Mariners, Texas Rangers, Toronto Blue Jays, Kansas City Royals. Any of those teams likely to make the postseason when everything is said and done in your mind?
Oh, I think the Blue Jays will 100% make the postseason. I think this is a team that made the World Series last year. That's made all these developments. I think we're seeing guys like Vladdy's looking good, and they're is it Okazuna? If I'm pronouncing his name
Okamoto.
correctly. What's that?
Okamoto.
Okamoto. Oh my God, I'm so bad. I'm horrible with names. Okamoto, as we
You're thinking of
saw, big
Okazuna
inning.
of the Yomiuri Giants of the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah, sorry about that. But no, Okamoto's looking amazing. He's, certainly on a power slug right now. I definitely think the Blue Jays will make the playoffs. I don't think the White Sox are going to make the playoffs. I do think the Mariners do make the playoffs. Whether or not they win the division is interesting because that AL West division, it's looking like anybody's game. Even the Angels, they're all within those three games back. So it's a very competitive division. Um, and so, it's looking fun, but I do think the two teams likeliest, in my mind, and this could be some recency bias, that are likely to make the postseason that are out of it right now are the Toronto Blue Jays and the Seattle Mariners.
I couldn't agree with you more because those are going to be my two picks as well.
Oh, you
Um,
stole them. No, I'm kidding.
yeah. I think the Blue Jays are just too talented of a team and also possibly just a bit too injured right now to
Yeah.
really be considered out of it or at least playing up to their true potential at the moment. And within that, I would say they're still finding excellent production. They're still finding production from a guy like Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who's always been great. Dylan Cease, who's looked like an excellent signing so far. I mean, Hendrik Pinango, who I really liked coming into the season, and he's looked excellent as a young hitter thus far. 23-year-old who's sort of thrust in the lineup due to injury and just sort of earning a place. And you're gonna get guys like Alejandro Kirk back. They already got Springer back. Dalton Varsho is coming into his own a little bit. Um, you're gonna get guys like Addison Barger, and you know the more of these guys you add, the more it's starting to look like that ALCS winning team that I think a lot of people fell in love with and said this is a very good team and I like their approach and I think this is the way baseball should be played. The more of that you get back and the fewer Andreas Jimenez at bats that we see, probably the better, right? And I think it's only a matter of time, especially now that Louis, the committee, Varland, is taking over the closer position full time and looking absolutely excellent. And Jeff Hoffman's looked solid in a setup role as well, slash a multi inning firefighter role. And I know you know the ups and downs of Jeff Hoffman personally. He's probably better suited to that role more than he is probably a closer. I don't know if it's a Brad Litch situation where he blows a big save and he kind of loses his mojo, or if
Hey,
they
he won
start
us a
to
World Series now. Come on.
he did come up
Nice
as a
try.
multi-inning reliever initially. So maybe this is just sort of him tending back to what he knows best. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, Ghostman, he's taken a little bit of a step back, but I also think that he is probably going to be a solid starter when everything's said and done. They got Trey Savage back, and he's looked really good in his first two starts. So that's going to be a good team. Seattle Mariners are, I think, potentially a great team if things actually go in their direction, which it's the Seattle Mariners, so it probably won't happen. But Julio Rodriguez, Cal Raleigh, um, J.P. Crawford, a lot of guys are off to a slower start this year. And I think you could point to a guy like Randy Arozarena, who's sort of picked up the slack. You can look at that pitching staff and say Brian Wu is not pitching anywhere near his usual standard. Same with their closer, Andreas Munoz. And yet they still found a way to be above, keep their heads above water. And even if two of those players start playing at their all star best, it's going to be a fun team to watch. It's going to be a great team to watch. I mean, Josh Naylor hasn't quite been what they maybe hoped when they signed him to that contract, but he's still been a very productive player. Cole Young has been a nice surprise for them. Colt Emerson signed that extension not too long ago, so we can kind of expect to see him come up pretty soon and maybe take over some of the third base duties and or maybe Cole Young will go to third and he'll go to second, and that'll
Yeah.
just sort of add another aspect to that. But yeah, I'm looking forward
I
to what they have.
I will say the American League is not looking as great as the National League. I mean, these are all teams right now that the Angels are technically the worst team, one of the worst teams in baseball right now, but they're still 4.5. And it's early. Take it what you want, but they are still technically 4.5 games from a playoff berth. So I mean, hey,
Mm-hmm.
it's looking interesting in the AL as opposed to the NL.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of the National League, let's look at what they have going on right now. Right now, teams in playoff spots. I mean, this is a very predictable division leader group. We have the Braves, the Cubs, and the Dodgers. I don't think anybody's going to bat an eye seeing that after what we've seen in the last 5, 6, 7 years of production from all those teams. Um,
I'm Unk.
yeah, unk status. National League wild card occupiers: Cardinals, Padres, Reds. The Cardinals are a bit of an interesting one there, but I'm sure we'll talk about them if they continue to keep this up. Right now, the four closest teams to a wild card are a very weird group of teams, if I must say. Pirates, Brewers, Diamondbacks, Nationals. Those are the four closest teams to a wild card spot at this moment. Now we can talk about the Phillies, the Giants, and the Mets in that group as well. The Phillies 5 games back, Giants 6, and the Mets 7. Max, do you have a couple of teams in that group that you want to circle and say these teams could be in the playoffs when all things are said and done?
Yeah, I fucking do. The Phillies are going to make the playoffs, 100%. Are you kidding me? Philly Don? Are you kidding me? Philly Don is like the best manager in baseball right now.
Yeah.
He's my ride or die. Anyways, no, that was I had to get that off my steam. Um, I still think the Phillies will make the playoffs. They're not going to win the division. I think the Braves are looking just too good right now. But I do think they do make that wild card spot. I will say I think the Brewers are still a decent team. And I still think they'll get that wild card spot. I don't know if it's highly unlikely they're going to repeat what they did in last year. Excluding the NLCS, they technically were on paper or record wise the best team in baseball. Um, so I think the Brewers are too talented not to be in the playoffs. I also think that I'm happy to see the Reds in that position. I think not a lot of people had such high expectations on the Reds. Last year, was the first year under Tito, and no one had a lot of expectations, and they made it to the playoffs. Yes, they lost to the Dodgers. Everybody was going to lose to the Dodgers, but they still made the playoffs. And I think we're just now seeing, Sal Stewart's looking great. Some of their pitching is looking decent, like Brandon Ashcraft. And you're going to have Hunter Green back in a couple months. And we all know a healthy Hunter Green is one of the most fun pitchers to watch in baseball. Um, the Pirates are fun to watch. I mean, Paul Skeens is still fine, but I think there's other players on that team who have been looking pretty decent. This is a really good, well-rounded team. Connor Griffin, who got off to a bit of a slow start in his debut, has been hitting consistently well, which is great to see. Um, the Diamondbacks, and we may talk about him later. Vargas is a hell of a story. Probably one of the best baseball stories right now. His on base streak and the fact that he's seeing the ball super well. I mean, congrats off to the guy, especially the long road he's been on in baseball. It's great to see guys like that succeed. I don't think the Nationals will make the playoffs. I still think this is a team that needs to find its identity. I will say this: I will not be surprised if the Marlins make the playoffs. That team is too fun. They have an identity. Their team is looking really really good. Their shortstop is one of the best shortstops in the league right now. So I'm very happy to see what the Marlins are doing. But I think this could remain in flux. Spoiler alert: the Mets will not make the playoffs. Good, fuck them, fuck Queens, fuck Flushing. I'm sorry, New York.
Fuck
I
Queens,
actually
I don't
don't.
mind.
I love the city and I don't mind Queens, but I just had to get that off my chest. Yeah, take this fat L, David Stearns. Take this fat L, uh, Cohen. You don't. Yeah, you ain't nothing. You ain't nothing. All right. You take your money and invest in another hedge fund, or maybe buy the Red Sox. You have more heart than John Henry, but yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Sorry, I had to get that rant off my
No, no,
chest.
I get you. I get what you're saying. I am going to. These aren't necessarily my picks, but I'm going to make a case for the Pirates. I'm going to make a case for the Diamondbacks. Now, I think all things being equal, my picks would be the Brewers and the Phillies. I've been very bullish on the Phillies, as you know, since the beginning of the year. So it would make
Yeah,
sense for
uh-huh.
them to sort of positively regress in that sense. And the Brewers are just a great team. And they just got Jackson Churio back, so I'm sure they'll figure it out with their 18 pitchers that start each 3 games and are like prime Nolan Ryan in each of them. So we'll see. Um, let's start with the Pirates here. This is a team that obviously is brimming with talent on the pitching front. You can talk about Skeens, of course. He's been a little bit more human than we're used to, so maybe we can see a little bit of positive regression on that front back to a Cy Young frontrunner. We can talk about Braxton Ashcraft, who's been very good, bar a couple of outings, and for a rookie, I think that's to be expected. But he looks like legitimate number 2 potential. Bubba Chandler has been touted as a top prospect. He hasn't quite lived up to that yet, but he has all the tools in the world. Mitch Keller, former All Star, one of my personal favorites, excellent 4-5 pitcher in this rotation. And I'm going to say a name that you probably haven't thought of in a long time, Max, but I legitimately think he has a chance to be the second best pitcher in this rotation and possibly one of the better ones in the league. Jared Jones. Do you remember Jared Jones, Max?
I do.
I remember Jared Jones, and I remember how good he was. I remember everybody saying Skeens and Jared Jones. This is going to be a combination that's going to carry the Pirates back to success. He's
Like
coming
a
back.
smoked Glavin.
He's coming back sooner rather than later. And if he's anything like he was before his injury, this could be a very special rotation. Let's talk about the superstar Connor Griffin, the potential superstar Connor Griffin. Let's talk about Nick Gonzalez and him batting 323 so far in the season. Let's talk about Ryan O'Hearn, who's batting in 300s. Let's talk about Brandon Lau, who's been excellent. Let's talk about O'Neill Cruz, who seems to have found a little something, something extra. Let's talk about, you know, a.
Ozuna from the Braves.
Let's talk about how bad he's been now. Um, this is a very interesting team. And they also have Esmeralyn Valdez in AAA, who's hitting the cover off the ball right now and could be a late season addition to this team. there's a lot of young talent here. There's a lot of upside here. I This year's probably a little bit too soon, but I think we're going to see what we saw from the Reds a couple of years ago, which is to say they went on a tear later in the season and they narrowly missed out on a playoff spot, but everybody could kind of see things are starting to click into gear here. And the fact that the Pirates are a viable MLB franchise in the month of May and haven't already been written off is progress. That's progress, right? And if I was a Pirates fan, I'd be pretty excited about what's to come. Let's switch up to the Diamondbacks here. This is a Diamondbacks team that I think not a lot of people knew what to make of going into this year. And I know from your expression, Max, that you're not a believer. Neither was I, to be honest. And I didn't particularly like what they were cooking out in the desert. But, 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 let me offer you a little bit of an alternative point of view. Let's start off with who's injured right now in Diamondbacks land. Who seems to have been completely forgotten about by more than one person that I've mentioned his name not this year but many years before when I talk about Cy Young candidates. And I'm just gonna keep talking without giving you his name in case there's some sort of injury news that I'm not aware of. Yep, he's still slated to be back at some point this year.
Eduardo Rodriguez.
Nope.
I
I'm talking about Corbin Burns.
I don't believe in Corbin Burns anymore.
You don't believe in Corbin Burns? I do. I think this
Nah.
guy's a frontline pitcher still. I think this is a guy that could come in and really make a difference in this team. And I'm not just talking about Ildemaro Vargas here. I'm talking about Ketel Marte positively regressing. I'm talking Geraldo Perdomo, who's great. Corbin Carroll, who's great. Gabriel Marino is back, who's also good. Jordan Lawler is injured, so we won't mention him. Um, but I think this is an intriguing team. I think this is a team with upside with Marte, Corbin, Carroll, Corbin Burns. There's a lot to like about this team, and I could see them sneaking into a spot here. I think maybe if the Padres fade down the stretch because of their pitching, this is a team that I kind of like. And I don't really have a reason for it other than vibes, but I really like Corbin Carroll, so I'm going to stick with that.
Hmm. I will say this: the Diamondbacks have great players. Good for them. I like some of their players, and also I'll never forgive them for 2023. Fuck you, Arizona.
Yeah. I would hold a grudge too if I was a different man, but I'm not, so I'm all set. It is still on
What's that
site with the
supposed to mean?
Astros though, because fuck those guys. But we got the
Yeah,
we got a revenge in 2018, so I'm not too sour about it.
didn't get your revenge last weekend, huh?
Yeah. So yeah, I
Let's
think
talk
that's
about that. Let's talk about that for a
yeah.
little
Let's
bit.
let's
We
let's
were,
talk let's talk about
folks. We
my yeah. I'll let you paint the picture, Max.
Yeah, folks, we were JT with a double. Anyways, the yeah, we were at a baseball game. Shock to nobody. We were at Fenway Park. We saw the Red Sox and the Orioles. Orioles, my God, I have the hat on. That's why. The Astros. And Frank, what did you think about the game? Did you have a fun time?
Yeah. So just to paint the picture, we were sitting in the bleachers, section 38, basically in the shadow of the massive scoreboard there, and I think it was a bit of a somber mood at Fenway going into the game. I don't think many people really believed in a positive outcome here, which is understandable. They were coming off of a win the previous night, but even with that being said, I don't think anybody had high expectations. But it was Connolly early. He's been pitching very well, and I think we were all pretty hopeful that things were going to happen. that it was not the case. Conley Early had the worst start of his career. Red Sox were down 6-1 before I could even digest what had happened. And I'll be honest with you guys. It was basically just me being catatonic for the rest of the game. Like I just didn't move. I didn't feel anything. Red Sox ended up putting a couple runs on the board, but I didn't even react. Even when Trevor Story finally did something with men on base, Red Sox in that game, I believe, were 1 for 17 with runners in scoring position, and yeah, it was just an ugly game that just drove me insane. And Ryan Watson came out in the fourth inning, which is basically waving the white flag, and to top it all off, the piece de resistance. I won't even mention the $20 beers. I won't even mention the fact that the hot dogs were mediocre at best, and that they only had relish at the checkout. I won't even mention the fact that it was sort of an overcast day and it wasn't really the best day for a ballpark. I'm going to talk about the fact that we were down by 5 runs in the seventh inning and the fans were having a lovely ass time, so much so that they were doing the motherfucking wave. If there's anything I hate at a ballpark, it's the goddamn wave, alright? There is. Do you even care what's happening on the field? Do you even bother to check the price tag of your ticket? Do you know this isn't the Met Gala? This isn't the fucking picnic at the park. This isn't Barney the dinosaur fucking sing along. This isn't one of those things where you're just showing up and having a great time. No, this is my fucking life. All right, and this is the life of many other people in this ballpark. And I'm sure there were some people's whose heads, like mine, were about to fucking explode when they saw that. I mean, who the hell is paying hundreds of dollars to take their family to the ballpark to not even care about the result? They're just gonna say, "Oh, I'm gonna do the wave because nothing else is happening." No, there's a ball game being motherfucking played on that motherfucking field. All right, everything is dire, and for everybody in there to pretend like they do not care. Look, it'd be one thing if this was a bad team. Fuck Craig Breslow, fuck John Henry. End of statement. But for the people there to be enjoying their time at the park when the Red Sox are on the precipice of a decade long rebuild because we have nothing fucking left in the tank, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. The people just don't want it anymore, Max. I saw multiple people with Yankees gear on in Fenway Park in a non Red Sox Yankees game, and I wanted to slap that fucking hat off their goddamn head. I wanted to crumple it up, throw it into a puddle, and piss all over it. But no, nobody's there. Nobody there is thinking like I'm thinking because we're civilized. We have a code of ethics. Well, let me tell you, all that goes out the window with the Red Sox because that was a disgraceful display, and everybody in that ballpark, including myself for not doing something about it, should be fucking ashamed.
Well, I'm not ashamed. I had a great time. I I'm sorry. That was a successful rage bait. I'm happy with myself. You know,
You've been
uh,
inside me all along, Max.
you know, Frank, quit being such a fucking stiff. People are out there to have fun.
That there's
What are we
having
watching?
fun. There's
Golf?
having fun, and there's kicking dirt all over my grave.
All right, buddy. It ain't that deep, little bro. Well, I mean, it's baseball, but
Number
anyways,
one, the number one thing about going to Fenway Park should always be the Red Sox result. Everything else is secondary.
true, true. I will say this. Coming to think about it, those Fenway Franks weren't as hitting as well.
There was no
Yeah, it
snap.
was
There was no
food.
crackle. There was no pop.
There was literally no snap. There's always a snap in the Fenway Frank. There's no fucking snap.
It was a
It's like a hot dog that I ate like when I was
7 day
5 years old.
display
No
gel.
snap.
Is what it was.
Yep, it was just relish. The Blue Moons were $16, which what the fuck? I mean, I love Blue Moons. Shout out Blue Moon. Please sponsor me. Please sponsor
What is that,
us.
Max? The price of a 12 pack at the bodega there?
it was like $5, like less than a 12 pack, which was crazy. One like semi tall boy of a Blue Moon, which was not really a tall boy, uh, and it was $15. I had to like go for a Michelob. No disrespect to Michelob. Michelob's
No,
are
I'm
solid
gonna
beers.
disrespect Michelob. Fuck Michelob. How about you just drink some fucking iced tea, you little pussies? How about get a real beer? Fuck Michelob. Fuck Heineken. All that shit is for weenies. Max, you got me mad. You got me thinking about that day. I had forgotten all about it. Now I'm thinking about that Saturday in the park, and I am enraged. I fucking hate Michelob. Anyway, continue.
To reach their own, but I think Michelob's a fine ass beer in my humble opinion. I had some Sam Summers, and they were also $16. Which what the fuck? Yeah, the food was not hitting as well. The Red Sox weren't hitting as well. Connerly early. It's a tongue twister for me. It's a hard word. I don't know why, but yeah, he left early. Haha. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm losing it today. Um, yeah. I kind of was a little shocked they were doing the wave. Hey, look, to my credit, I did not do the wave. I was glued in on the game. You did not see me do the wave. I was looking around. I'm like, oh, okay, this is just what we're doing. All right, cool. Um, but yeah, um, we were still singing "Sweet Caroline" though, and that's always great. It's like you're like that guy in the Red Sox. This is for people who do know, who saw the Red Sox Netflix documentary. I think it was either like the team one that they followed in 24 or the comeback that they did. But basically it was the old Boston Globe columnist, I think, that was at the end of the whole Netflix series. And the guy was like, I fucking hate it when they swing see Caroline. It's such a stupid thing they do. You're like that guy now. You're like that
I
guy.
don't hate it when they do Sweet Caroline. I hate it when we're in the middle of possibly our worst season in a century, and people are just like, I'm here to sing a song. That's what I hate.
You're a Debbie Downer. Oh, come on. No, I'm kidding. Anyways, that's I just want to bring that up because we were at a game. We did not do a live episode. Honestly, I probably should have started recording and
I
put
might
it to
have
the
said
YouTube
something.
channel
You
because
would have
your
cut in the whole
content
friendly
at the
dialogue.
game was gold and killer, and it was fantastic. I'm in awe. I'm in awe.
Hmm. Let's talk about the MLB monthly awards for March slash April, shall we, Max? While I still have some brain cells left to salvage, because a lot of them have burst in my head, and I can feel them right now. American League Award winners: Player of the Month Jordan Alvarez, Pitcher of the Month Jose Soriano, Rookie of the Month Kevin McGonigal, and Reliever of the Month Louis Varland. Now, Max, do big double play there. Do you have any sort of opinions? Do you think anybody's snubbed on that list, or do you think that's pretty much what was expected?
Yeah, I think that was what was expected. I mean, Jordan has been on the MVP watch ever since he's debuted. He's had a couple some solid years, but when you have Aaron Judge up there and Kyle Riley with what he did last year, it's tough to break through. But I think Jordan, we're seeing he's one of the best power hitters in the league. Jose Soriano, up until a couple starts ago, and both of these were starts, his combined ERA now for the past couple of starts. I know in the month of April it was like a .24 ERA, unheard of. But now that ERA is kind of coming up back to earth. He has an 8 ERA in two of the past starts, mind you, with the White Sox. So it looks like Murakami has his number a bit. But he's been off to an unreal start, and I think besides those two starts, he's still going to be a solid pitcher for the Angels. McGonigal, obviously one of the most hyped prospects in living memory for the Tigers. Um, probably unseen since Justin Verlander, to be perfectly frank. And he's looking incredible to start off the year. And Varland now, taking over that closer role a bit from Hoffman because Hoffman was not doing so great in that closer role. I know from past experience he wasn't. He's not really built as a closer. He's more of your setup guy. But Varland's been looking dominant. No, that's all within line. All totally deserved. I think those players are all really, really fun to watch.
All right, solid. Yeah, I think Jordan Alvarez. I I saw some articles on MLB.com. It's like how is this guy good at everything? Like, and I think that perfectly
I will
describes.
say the AL pitcher of the month, though. You're not gonna like
You're
this.
gonna say Brian Bayo, aren't you?
No, um, he's from Boston.
Oh, you're talking about Cam Schlittler.
Yeah, I mean the man has like one of the best ERAs in the big leagues
Cam
right
S.
now.
Hitler.
Yeah, yeah. I mean he's been looking good. I mean, I say what you want about him, but he's been looking solid.
I fucking hate that guy.
Yeah.
He makes me sick.
Uh,
He's everything that's wrong with kids with money. They get a little bit of money, they think they can talk down to us people. They think they can just erase history. They can talk shit and pretend like nothing happens. Now, fuck them. That's what I say.
I say move on to the National League
Hey,
before we get canceled.
Cam, if I see you in Southie, it's on site. Let me tell you.
I don't speak for him. I don't speak for him. If I see you at the Stop and Shop in Southie, I'm gonna dap you up.
Nope. He's if he tries to dap me up, I'm snapping his elbow. Oh, Cam Schlittler is missing the 2027 season with elbow surgery. I wonder how that happened. Whoopsie daisy. Yeah, you heard me. National League Award winners. Player of the month for the National League, Ildemaro Vargas. Pitcher of the month, Shohei Ohtani. Rookie of the month, Sal Stewart. And reliever of the month, Mason Miller. Mason Miller, I like you a lot, so your elbow shall remain intact. And as far as I know, you are not from Boston, so you may go in peace. Um, yeah, I think Ildemaro Vargas being the National League Player of the Month for March and April is it's honestly one of the weirder breakouts I've ever seen. A guy who's sort of been a slap hitter for most of his career, 34 years old, and he just comes out of the gates just mashing. I mean, he's looking poised to break records for the Diamondbacks, on base records. Like he's hitting 382 right now, leading the league, hitting for power. I don't know where this came from, but I think just because it's a really cool thing, and I think you can maybe make an argument for, you know, maybe a Jordan Walker, or you can make an argument for um, a couple other people. But I think just for the story, this is a great pick, personally. Um, Shohei Ohtani is on a quest to become undeniable for every award. If this man wins the MVP, the Cy Young, and wins the World Series this year, Max, let me ask you a hypothetical question. He does all these things and he hits in line with where his career averages are at. Is this the greatest season ever played by a player?
Yes,
Yeah. All right, case
I,
closed.
I don't need to sugarcoat it. Yes,
Rookie of the month for April, Sal Stewart. He's been slumping a little bit recently, but he's still looking like a very productive player. At one point, led the National League and led the MLB in RBI late in the month of April. He and Ellie De La Cruz have accounted for, I believe, over 40% of the Reds' total home runs this year, which is pretty crazy. I mean, Ellie De La Cruz, by the way, having a sneaky sort of bounce back year, even though he was pretty good last year, but he's been excellent so far this year. Um, and Sal Stewart's looking like a great contribution. He's still my pick for National League Rookie of the Year. Um, I want Sammy Basayo to start hitting the ball a little bit more in Baltimore so he can make my AL Rookie of the Year pick for him look a little bit better. But yeah, I think it looks great. I think the Reds have another star on their hands, and I hope Terry Francona can nurture him into a superstar because that's what Terry Francona does. He is my personal Lord and Savior. Please come home, Terry. I miss you so much. And then,
Still have
yeah,
Theo Epstein.
okay. National League, National League reliever. Yeah, he's apparently the guy who picked up the phone and fired Alex Cora if he asked the Boston Globe. Even though I'm sure he was just like, yeah, whatever, I'm a minority owner. I don't really care anymore. Let's just talk about National League reliever of the month, Mason Miller, aka the reincarnation of Aroldis Chapman in his prime. What do we do with this guy? What do you do if a
Nothing.
guy is genuinely unhittable? This feels like a science experiment.
Nothing.
It's
Nothing.
like
You
how
just have to
it's like what
say your
arsenal.
prayers and eat your
Yeah,
vitamins.
what arsenal could a guy theoretically have to allow zero earned runs for his entire career? And that's what we're looking at with Mason Miller. This guy can continue to locate and stay healthy. I mean, there's literally no way that anybody's scoring more than a single run on this guy each month.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
Yeah.
I think that about does
I
it,
will
unless you
say
have something
though,
else to say.
I will say a little quick thing. Vargas is well deserved, and Kyle Schwarber, that ball is going on the track. Um, Vargas has had a great start to the year. Obviously, that 382 average is incredible. I think at one point he was hitting 400. I think for the first 3 weeks of April consistently, which has been insane. I will say this though, I don't think he was snubbed, but I think another player who's been doing incredibly well. We spoke about him last week, Matt Olson. With a 300 average, 12 home runs, 32 RBIs, and an OPS of a whopper 1.047. I mean, this is not numbers to look at, but I will say this Vargas, well deserved.
It's a
No
good
one
shout.
should get that award other than him.
Good shout.
But yeah, and Mason Miller is completely unhittable. We know that Sal Stewart is an incredible player as well, and Shohei Ohtani has like a what 4.65 ERA to start off the year. He is looking not just like an MVP candidate. He is looking like a legitimate uh, Cy Young winner. I think you can have a situation where I don't think he'll put up like Clayton Kershaw or Justin Verlander numbers, but I do think, though, if his offense stays in line, even if it dips a little bit, but he has the pitching like this, I would not be shocked if we have another NL MVP and he's a Cy Young the same year. I would not be shocked at all if that
I
happens.
feel like the voters are going to be inclined to give it to him just so they can say I was a part of history, the greatest
Yeah,
single season ever played. But I think we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. He is someone who's known to have a little bit of fatigue in the arm, so we'll see on that end. But I'm
don't ruin
looking
the
for
good vibes.
I'm looking forward to seeing what he has. I'm looking forward to seeing a great Otani season here. But
Yeah.
anything else you want to add here, Max?
No, I think I've rage baited you enough.
Yeah, I think you have too. So we're gonna call it there while I still have some sanity left. And yeah, I just want to thank everybody for supporting and watching thus far. And anybody who's made it this far, I appreciate you. And please subscribe, please like, please share, do all that good stuff. And we will see you for the next episode.